The night breathes in silence. Not the silence of emptiness, but the silence before creation speaks. The world sleeps, yet something unseen hums beneath the surface. The stars shimmer like distant witnesses, and somewhere within that stillness, a soul begins to stir. The spirit stands between two worlds, the one it can touch, and the one it can only feel. It senses the trembling edge of dawn, though no light has yet risen. It waits, unsure of what calls it, yet the call is real, softer than breath, older than time. Why does my heart ache in peace? The question echoes inside the spirit, unanswered yet alive. It is in this sacred pause, this silence before the light, that faith begins its secret dance. Every thought quiets, every sound fades, until even the heartbeat feels like a verse of remembrance. For in this silence, revelation prepares its descent. The veil between worlds grows thin, and the soul feels the nearness of something vast, something merciful. It is as if creation itself holds its breath, waiting for one spark to awaken what has always been. Are you near, even now, when I hear nothing? And from the stillness comes not a voice, but an awareness, presence older than sound, a knowing that faith is not born from light, but from the courage to listen in the dark. The spirit closes its eyes. In the deep silence, it finally begins to hear what the world cannot. The quiet promise of dawn. The air shifts, faint, unseen yet undeniable. The silence that once comforted now begins to speak in whispers too soft for the ear. It is the call of the hidden, a vibration that trembles through the soul like a forgotten melody returning home. The spirit feels it first in restlessness. A quiet ache moves through the chest, as though something deep within longs to be remembered. It is not fear nor sorrow, but a yearning that refuses to sleep. The heart beats faster, not from panic, but recognition. Have you ever felt a longing you could not name? A pull toward something vast and unseen, something that knows you more than you know yourself? That is how the spirit feels now, drawn toward a voice that does not speak, yet calls with power beyond sound. It is said the divine speaks not in thunder, but in stillness, not through words, but through presence. The spirit begins to understand. This restlessness is not a disturbance, but an invitation, an awakening disguised as unease. The wind outside trembles through the trees, and even their motion feels alive with meaning. Every shadow, every breath, becomes a verse in the language of the unseen. The spirit listens not to what is heard, but to what is felt. Come closer, says the silence, and the spirit obeys. Each step into the unknown brings it nearer to remembrance. For the first sign of awakening is not knowledge, but awareness. The heart begins to hear what the mind cannot, that God hides his voice within the longing itself. The spirit stands still. The call continues, silent, unending, divine. A gentle wind drifts across the forgotten paths of memory. The spirit walks through them, barefoot in the dust of time. Every step stirs echoes, faint, familiar, aching. There, hidden among the fragments of what was, lies the third sign, the whisper of remembrance. The spirit begins to see the past not as a chain, but as a mirror. Moments once thought lost now gleam with quiet purpose. A childhood tear, a sudden loss, an unspoken prayer, all reappear like constellations, finally forming meaning. The dust shimmers with light that was always there, waiting to be seen. We all carry forgotten messages in our pain. The heart remembers even when the mind forgets. Every sorrow, every silence, was a seed buried deep, now awakening beneath the warmth of divine breath. The spirit kneels and touches the ground, realizing that even the wounds have begun to glow. It understands now. The signs were never missing. They were scattered across a lifetime, written in the language of experience. A lost friend, a closed door, a quiet sunset, all were verses of guidance, hidden behind the veil of ordinary days. Can the past still speak if we choose to listen? Yes. It speaks in echoes that never truly faded, in lessons we once ignored, in beauty we were too blind to see. The spirit closes its eyes. It hears laughter long gone, sees faces that shaped its soul, and feels the pulse of mercy flowing backward through time. Every mistake becomes a map, every grief a lantern. And as the spirit rises, the dust beneath its feet no longer feels like earth, but remembrance. The night deepens, and with it comes a trembling, soft, rhythmic, sacred. It is not the earth that shakes, but the heart. The spirit feels the fourth sign rise within its chest, the trembling heart that senses the nearness of the divine. It beats not from fear, but from recognition. Something vast and merciful stands near, unseen yet undeniable. The spirit pauses, its breath caught between awe and surrender. Each heartbeat becomes a drum echoing through eternity, reminding it of an ancient promise, that every soul once stood before its creator and knew him. And now, in this trembling, that memory returns. Have you ever felt your heart race for no reason? That sudden rush of emotion that feels like both fear and love intertwined? That is the heart awakening, not to danger, but to presence. It trembles because it remembers what the mind forgot. The spirit clutches its chest, not in pain, but in realization. This trembling is not weakness. It is remembrance without words. It is the heart's way of bowing. The world around grows still. Even the wind seems to stop and listen. Within that stillness, the spirit feels the pulse of the infinite echo through its fragile form. Each beat says the same sacred word, Allah, Allah. It realizes the shadow was never trying to harm it. The shadow was trying to return it to God. With this understanding, the darkness around the spirit loosens. A quiet peace settles in. The shadow fades, not destroyed, but transformed into light the spirit can finally carry. The spirit walks onward, the night still heavy yet somehow gentler than before. It comes upon the sixth sign, a glimmer that does not come from the sky, but from within. It is born in the eyes, carried by the breath, shaped by tears. For tonight, tears are no longer sorrow. They are mirrors of truth. The spirit feels them before it understands them. Warm trails upon the face, falling without command. They are not of pain, but of release, the quiet surrender of a heart that finally stops resisting. Each tear speaks what words cannot. I am ready to be cleansed. How strange that something so fragile can hold so much power. For tears do what speech never could. They wash away the dust that blinds the soul. The spirit remembers now that the prophet once said, "There are two drops most beloved to God, a tear shed in his remembrance, and blood spilled in his path." And so, these tears are not weakness, but devotion. The spirit bows its head as the tears fall freely, and in that surrender the mirror clears. It sees itself not as broken, but as beloved. The reflection is raw, honest, and radiant with mercy. Have you ever cried without knowing why, only to feel lighter after, as if the soul itself exhaled? That is the mystery of the sixth sign, the purification of emotion, the baptism of the heart. Each tear becomes a drop of remembrance, each sob a prayer, each silence after weeping, a door into peace. And as the spirit wipes its face, the night air feels brighter, as though heaven itself has drawn near. The tears stop, but their echo remains. A softness within the soul, a calm that whispers, "You have been seen." The wind shifts again, gentle, carrying with it a fragrance the spirit cannot name. Feels ancient, familiar, as if the air itself remembers something sacred. And in that breath of eternity comes the seventh sign, the whispers through time. The spirit halts beneath a canopy of stars. Each one glimmers with a rhythm that feels deliberate, purposeful, alive. Moments begin to fold over themselves. A dream once forgotten reappears. A phrase once heard long ago echoes in the mind, and a verse from the Quran surfaces without effort. Do they not see how we show them our signs in the horizons and in themselves? The spirit realizes that time itself is not a line, but a circle. Every meeting, every loss, every coincidence was never random. They were divine appointments, destined before the soul took its first breath. What we call chance is simply mercy in disguise. The spirit feels goosebumps rise, not from fear, but from awe. How could it have missed these patterns before? The same faces returning at the right moments, the same words arriving when they were most needed, as though the universe itself conspires to remind us of something we've forgotten. Have you ever felt déjà vu? That haunting familiarity, that knowing without memory? It is not imagination. It is the soul recognizing what it once agreed upon before birth. These are the whispers through time, God's reminders scattered across existence. The spirit closes its eyes and listens. The whispers grow louder, not in sound, but in clarity. Every beat of the heart seems to sync with the rhythm of the cosmos. Past, present, and future dissolve into one truth, that everything is written, yet still unfolding, breath by breath. The spirit smiles softly. The wind moves again, brushing against its face like an old friend. Time no longer feels like a prison, but a message, and the message is love. The night opens wider, vast and endless. The spirit walks beneath it, and the wind greets. The spirit walks beneath it, and the wind greets it like an ancient companion. There is music in the air, not of instruments, but of being itself. Here, in the boundless quiet, comes the eighth sign, when the wind remembers. The spirit stands still. The breeze moves through the trees, whispering in languages older than human speech. It brushes across the face, circles the heart, carrying the scent of soil, sea, and star. And in that breath of the universe, the spirit feels a presence that is both everywhere and within. Every leaf that trembles, every wave that forms, every gust that rises, all of them are alive with remembrance. The world is not mute. It is in constant diker. The stones, the rivers, the mountains, they all praise, though we seldom hear. For God said, "There is not a thing that glorifies him not, but you do not understand their praise." The spirit closes its eyes and listens. The wind hums through the branches, wrapping the earth in invisible worship. And for the first time, the spirit joins in, not with words, but with silence. It breathes in harmony with creation, realizing that faith was never a private act. It was always part of a greater symphony. Have you ever stood in a moment so still that even the air seemed to speak your name? That is the language of the unseen world, the divine calling through the elements, reminding us that nothing is lifeless, nothing is forgotten. The spirit raises its hands to the sky. The wind swirls gently around it, as if embracing an old friend returned from exile. The spirit whispers to itself, "Even the wind remembers him. Now so do I." The night feels lighter, the stars closer, and for the first time the world no longer feels like earth, feels like prayer. The wind fades into calm. The spirit stands upon the edge of stillness. The storm within it quieted, the darkness softened into peace. This is the ninth sign, the most delicate of all. The return of inner silence, the awakening of calm. It comes not with thunder, nor with miracles, but with an unshakable knowing that all is as it should be. The spirit breathes deeply, and for the first time, the air feels different. It no longer reaches for proof or signs or answers. It simply is. Faith has ceased to be a search and has become a state of being. For the truest awakening is not a moment of fire, but a dawn of stillness. When the heart stops chasing light and realizes it has always been light. When the soul ceases to beg for guidance and begins to walk as if it already carries it. That is peace, not the absence of noise, but the harmony that flows beneath it. The spirit looks inward. The questions that once echoed now dissolve like mist. The questions that once echoed now dissolve like mist. It realizes that silence was never emptiness. It was the space where God had been speaking all along. Every longing, every tear, every moment of restlessness. They were all signs pointing back to this: surrender. Have you ever reached a point where words lose meaning, yet your heart feels full? That is the threshold of faith. It is where thought ends and knowing begins. The spirit kneels in gratitude. There is no light breaking through the clouds, no voice from the heavens, only peace. And in that peace it finally understands. Awakening is not about seeing more, but about needing nothing more to see. The spirit smiles, eyes closed. The night feels complete, not because the journey is over, but because the soul has returned home to itself. The moon now hangs higher, veiled in thin clouds, a watcher of all things silent. The spirit walks beneath it, its steps slower, its breath steady. This is the 10th sign, the echo of remembrance. When the soul begins to live not in fear or longing, but in remembrance of what it truly is. No teacher commands it, no scripture reminds.